Been together so long we can't pretend. Remember the way we used to move, dance all night like young lovers do. Your heart is changing. Now we don't dance like we used to. Silent disco on the floor, baby. Mr. DJ, he'll get me through. When the beat's gone, you can't save me, baby. Smoke and mirrors, pretty lights. Another runaway city boy getting too high. But boys like you tell pretty lies. The 5 a.m. low in your eyes says your heart is changing. Now we don't dance like we used to. Silent disco on the floor, baby. Mr. DJ, you'll get me through. When the beat's gone, you can't save me. Now we don't dance like we used to. Silent disco on the floor, baby.
This is Broad Radio. For you, by you. Broad Radio. Here for more.
Got sort of a workplace policy around trousers just yet.
Well, maybe you need one. We'll see. We'll see what happens on this show.
It's a joy to be back because school holidays, of course, you and I both have one child, which means a considerable amount of time with that child during school holidays.
Yes, and I would say, I would venture to, I can't speak for you, but I love my child. I'm sure you love your child a lot.
A lot.
But gosh, there's a lot of things you can watch on YouTube that are annoying. And I don't know whether you have experienced the joy of your child describing a meme to you.
Oh my God, yes. Or describing the Minecraft world they just spent 2 days building, and it takes 2 days to tell you about it. I want to say too, though, I am back in the office, and to my daughter who just texted me, she's home by herself for a little while, and she's 12. Is that?
No, Debbie's,
okay?
my son started to do that as well.
Oh my God, I was fearful that I was breaking.
No,
the law for a
it's
minute.
exciting, isn't it?
Yes, but she just texted me, is this chicken safe to eat?
Is she talking about a live chicken, or is it raw, or is it like I need more context for the chicken? Like,
I don't know where the chicken came from. I didn't know we had chicken in the fridge, but I want to say, babe, can't talk to you now, going live on Broad Radio, but maybe don't eat the chicken if you're unsure.
especially if it's still running around.
She just went out and caught a chicken. Oh, my God. Hey, Cal, it's so awesome to have you here. I love everything that you do as podcaster, stand-up comedian, writer. You're amazing. And also now reality TV star.
It's I've had a lot on.
You really have. So we're going to be talking to you about your time in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which is currently on our screens. How are you doing that in the jungle and here at the same time?
COVID. It's a side effect of COVID. So it's a little bit pre-recorded, and then the finale will be live, and the world will vote for the winner.
All right, I have many questions about that in just a little while. Also today joining us, Kate O'Halloran, ABC Sports Journo, is going to give us the lowdown on the AFLW, which I am just loving, largely because the Pies are 2 for 2, which I'm very excited about. Lots of amazing sport going on, though, if you're a sport lover this week. And I'm so excited about this. If you are thinking at this time of year about how to get more out of 2022, and not just this year, but perhaps your life, we've got an amazing guest joining us live from LA. She is author Eve Rodsky. She's the author of this book, Find Your Unicorn Space, which I absolutely loved. It matches our backdrop. How about that? She's also the New York Times bestselling author of Fair Play, which is an amazing book that kind of redresses that domesticity and the imbalance of the burden that comes with raising a family and being workers and partners and all of that sort of thing. So she's joining us live from LA, can I say it, to help us perhaps maybe reconnect with our creative spaces. All of that is coming up after this. Broad Radio is proudly supported by Chemist Warehouse. Chemist Warehouse, great savings every day. It has been wonderful to have so many new people join us over the break. So if you are watching live on Facebook or YouTube, do please share your comments and questions along the way. It would be really lovely to hear from you. But you can always catch up on any of our episodes via podcast with our podcast, Broad Radio on the Go, wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, Cal, so many questions about I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Firstly, I imagine it's not a thing that you thought you would ever do.
No, I've been asked before and I was always like, oh, why would I want to do that? And then I got asked again this year. And because the pandemic had turned the world upside down anyway, I was like, why not? Why not do something else extraordinarily weird?
So we know it as food challenges and lots of tears. That's how I imagine it. And some weird-ass games in between. Yeah. What was your experience of it?
My summation of the experience is profound conversations and huntsman sandwiches. Like it's this. I felt like I was given such a gift. I just got to go and meet friends with people, like new people, and because we recorded it a couple of months ago, like we already had lockdown. And it was just nice to be somewhere stuck with people that hadn't heard all my stories.
Yes,
like it was like my husband got to relax, didn't have to hear the story about the spider in the glove box again, and then I just had a whole lot of other people to tell stories to and get to know, and it was great.
But so I look at it and I think, are you on all the time? Do you, particularly because you're there as a comedian, right? Do you feel the pressure to be on and to be entertaining all the time?
I went in going, all I have to do is be myself. That was my aim, was to just be myself. And that's what I did. And you forget that the cameras are there until you go to a challenge and Julia and Dr. Chris look amazing in their television outfits, and then you're like, oh my God, is this a dream? I'm in my pajamas. Like, yeah, it doesn't feel like a TV show. Yeah, because you just get used to it. You just get used to concealed cameras, and yeah, it was such a treat. It's such a weird experience.
But there's a lot of what we see is you're, doing a live podcast, or you're, doing sketches, or, you're kind of doing a wacka wacka sort of. Is that you normally?
Oh yeah, I just am. Like, it's enjoyable to be funny, and like, you're funny. Like we chat, we make each other laugh, and it's just kind of like that. The times when it felt like it was a bit more of a performance is if you're doing a challenge or something and you're kind of like, I want to give this my all and make this fun and funny. But for like hanging around the camp, it was just me.
So you did eat bizarre things.
I don't know. I haven't seen it happen yet. It's so weird watching it back with my child and my husband. And every time the Warren the Wombat chooses who's going to be in the next challenge, my son sits there on the couch going, cow, 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 cow. Like he's just so excited at the thought of me having to do something disgusting.
So obviously, spoiler alert, you can't say
I can't tell
really anything.
No. We can talk about what we've seen already.
Yes.
But cannot disclose anything.
I'll tell you something that I saw that I absolutely loved, that was so beautiful, was that moment where everybody was saying nice things about you. How nice. I want to go to the jungle and have people say nice things about me.
It was really amazing. So it was like an affirmation circle that Davina had suggested because Nathan Buckley had collapsed earlier that afternoon, and we were all very upset about him being taken ill. And then Davina suggested that we all go around and just say what we loved about each other or what we liked about each other. And so that it went on for ages. It went on for so long, and it was so lovely just to hear people like kind of get the essence of other people even so quickly. And yeah, so the whole thing went on for ages, and then it just seemed to be me and Poe.
I mean, it's pretty remarkable to have people say nice things to you in that way like it's not your, funeral.
Yes, yeah, like we were
that you
all
get
there to hear the
it.
lovely things, yeah.
And also in real life, whoever does an affirmation circle.
Apparently Davina, because she was like, oh, my girlfriends and I do this, like after we've had a couple of glasses of wine. And it was just gorgeous. It was really so lovely. And like my thing is I'm always trying to tell people how I feel about them because I don't think you should die wondering, you know, like,
yes.
And it was just gorgeous to have that on a huge scale of just everybody and people not taking it cynically, but genuinely answering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I feel like I've joined a cult with terrible catering. I just have to say, when I talk about it, I feel like I'm like a decoy for like the next cast. Like I'll be sitting in the pond like a duck going, do it, just do it. It's really great, do it.
So let's do an affirmation circle now, starting with me. No, I'm joking. What I do want to know, though, is because Miff Warhurst, we interviewed her last year and she had done it. Mm-hmm. And she said it was absolutely transformative for her. So did it change you?
Yes, it absolutely did.
In what way?
It just made me be in the moment. Like it was such a change to all I had to do in there was just talk to people and do challenges. And that was all I had to do. And it was such a relief from going, oh, I've got to write a comedy festival show. Oh, I've got to sort out school. I've got to, it was just so, it just allowed me to be in the moment. And it showed me that I was more resilient than I ever thought I was. And it just made me appreciate everything. It made me appreciate that the things I will never eat again.
Also, recently it seemed you really appreciated cushy chairs to sit on and those sorts of creature comforts that...
You don't understand how hard a log is to sit on until you've sat on it for weeks on end. Like it's so hard. This is a terrible thing that I'm going to admit to you. I reckon I got butt calluses.
Oh.
I reckon I just had like little kind of a weird texture to myself that had been sitting on the log.
Now I'm doubly appreciative that you're wearing pants. I'm glad you didn't walk in. Go, check out these butt calluses.
I can't fit my pants anymore. They're so big. I can't get them into the back of my jeans. So.
And also I have to acknowledge that I'm deeply envious that you got to go into the jungle, wherever it was shot, which is not technically the jungle, so you had to stay in Australia. But with three of my heroes, Dylan Lewis, Poe and Nathan Buckley, who as a Collingwood supporter, I have known him sort of vaguely personally. He's one of the greatest humans you'll ever spend time with.
Yeah, he was such a revelation. Like when would I, a comedian, hang out with a footy coach and retired player? Like when would we ever hang out together? And yeah, he was great. He was just so lovely, such a caring person. Like when it poured with torrential rain, he went in and made sure everyone was under their tarp safely and really funny too. And it was so lovely for me to go in there and find Dylan because we used to work together and we haven't seen each other for years. And it was just so lovely to reconnect. And Poe, the best thing in the world is making her laugh. Like she's just the best. Yeah. All glorious. It's so nice to be able to talk about it because it was a secret for ages because, we recorded a couple of months ago. And it felt like I was having an affair with 12 people. Like I just couldn't tell anybody about my wonderful new friends. And they're like, yes, Poe, great.
And did you at any time almost blow that secret? Like, when you're pregnant, right, and you know what you're having and everybody goes, what are you having? And you're like, oh, I'm not going to say. And then for me, by the time I got to 8 months pregnant, I just was basically talking about painting her fingernails and and braiding her hair. And people are like, I think we know you're having a girl because I just couldn't. Did you ever blow the secret?
I didn't blow the secret except to my son. I wasn't going to tell him any of the names of the people that I was in with, but he just casually asked me a question. Like I'd said something that someone had said to me and he goes, oh, who said that? And I just went, Dylan. And then was like, oh, and then we just called everybody the Dylans.
Oh, cute.
So he was like, who did you have to do that challenge with? And I'd be like, the Dylan. So they were 13 Dylans for ages.
So, but hey, when you go away, and I've always wondered this, did people know you were going away to do the show?
no one really did. People knew I was going away for work, but like
okay.
my mother-in-law had no clue until the show started, and then I get a text message from her just going, "Cal Wilson," with exclamation marks. And she was so shocked, and I was like, "Well, we've done that really well."
But your boy was kept. He's sworn to secrecy.
I didn't want him to have to carry the secret for a long
I was going to say,
time.
there's no way my daughter would keep that secret.
Well,
she's at home trying to work out whether to eat chicken or not.
That she caught herself. I told him that I was going away for work and I couldn't tell him what I was doing. And so he worked out that it was a movie in Sydney. And I didn't deny that. But then halfway through, my husband told him. And he's been really great. He's been just like the grave with everything.
I love it. It's so amazing. I'm really, I'm loving watching you in it. It's an absolute joy. And the show is kind. And how rare is that in TV?
It's amazing. And that's what everyone keeps saying. It's not gotcha television. Like, sure, you have to do weird food stuff or trials, but it's not about making anyone look like a fool or anything. And I was worried about going in. I was like, I hope there's no really right-wing politician in there. Like, I hope there's no...
Yeah, they've done that in the past.
Yeah, and now I think it's just everyone's like, why don't we just get people who are great and put them together? Like,
no controversy here, just kindness and fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I was going to say the controversy of me remembering a photo that doesn't exist. That was a big,
that was pretty funny.
A big thing for me. That was good.
Yes. So, but I thought I had a scoop then that you accidentally dropped that there's a controversy coming.
No, the controversy was literally me just being an egg.
I won't hold it against you. I think we all have those moments. Cal, I love it. Thanks for being on the show today and giving us that little bit of insight. In just a moment, we're going to be joined by Eve Rodsky, New York Times bestseller, all the way from LA. Well, I have to say, Cal, it's that time of year where I look ahead to my 12 months and I think, what am I going to do with this year that's going to make me feel perhaps more fulfilled? How have I grown? But I'm looking back at the last 2 years and, geez, it's been hard. We have worked, I think, harder than we ever have, all of us collectively. We've juggled the homeschooling as parents, and I think it's well documented that women have carried a load that has been ridiculous. And in that time, I felt like I've just bit by bit forgotten how to really do the things that light me up, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is why I loved it when this book landed on my desk. We'll get a proper cover up for you in just a moment. It's by Eve Rodsky. It's called Find Your Unicorn Space, Reclaim Your Creative Life in a Too Busy World. All of that spoke so much to me.
Yeah, I was reading it just going, well, that resonates. This is me. Like,
it's all of that. So we're really thrilled to have Eve join us from LA. Hi there, Eve.
Hi, Jo and Cal. Good to see you.
Oh, it's great to have you. And gosh, we love technology when it works. Eve, what does it mean to have a creative life? And why do you think it's so critical?
Well, a creative life is not just with a paintbrush. A creative life can be an experience where you're, as you said, connecting with other people, doing weird food challenges. A creative life can be an accountant who's also an astronaut. It can also be a parent who's a pilot. A creative life is not something that I can tell you what yours is, but this book is about how to help you find it and return to it.
Yeah, it was what I found so interesting about it was that you start off by saying being artistic is not the same as being creative, and that everybody has a different creativity. How do you start to find yours? Like, if you're going, I would love to be more creative, but what is it that I want to do?
Well, I think the first thing is to recognize that we actually have to prioritize it in our life. By unicorn space, I try to redefine creativity as the space for active pursuits that make you you. Cal, for so long, we've really said to people, okay, it's great that you're taking 5 minutes to go get your hair dyed, or more like 3 hours, or conflating creativity with getting a manicure, especially for women, or, maybe a drink with a friend. But what I'm talking about here is what the research shows. Actually, it was a study out of New Zealand that showed us that creativity, living an active pursuit, a life where you have things that make you come alive, is not only the umbrella to the rain, because let me just tell you, right, we know that these storms are not stopping. It's been pouring on us for the past 2 years. But do we want to drown in that rain, or at least can we have some sort of umbrella? These active pursuits become our umbrella, experiences that can't be taken away from us, that we can draw on, like what you're doing today, sitting with each other, connecting and hosting a radio show. Those things are the things that lead to daily flourishing. And that's what I want for people. I want people to feel like they're flourishing on a daily basis.
I'm guessing that you would hear a lot, in fact, probably from everyone, that sounds great, but I haven't got time. Particularly women who might also be parents, even if you're not parents, people who are juggling careers and partnering or not partnering. But, time is, we're very, very busy. What do you say when people say, I haven't got time?
Well, I would say is that if we really care about our health and wellness right now, then I would say prioritizing your creative life is almost or even more important than exercise. What I ask for you to do is to picture your life. And are you able to say at least one day a week that the most important thing that you do that day is outside your roles as a parent and or partner and or professional? And by professional, I mean stay-at-home moms to people who work outside of the home. Is there at least one day a week where you can say the most important thing you do that day is something that you prioritize for you outside of your roles? Because we know that now that is linked to our mental health, our longevity. And so it's actually why I don't believe that we can't make time for it. What I have to say is that society doesn't allow us this time. It doesn't give us that permission to be unavailable. So we have to literally take it by the reins and take it back for ourselves.
It's funny hearing you say that like make one day where you have the priority as your time. Even hearing that and certainly reading it in the book, my feeling was like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Like it feels like, where does the guilt come from for taking space and time for yourself? But it's like it's the first emotion that I've plugged into.
Such a great question. So I would say, think about how women's time has been devalued since the beginning of time. Since the Industrial Revolution, we saw that if women entered a male profession, the salaries automatically went down. We know that we say things in our cultures like breastfeeding is free. When it's 1,800 hours a year, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, wow.
So of course we're going to feel guilty when we spend time on ourselves, because we've been taught that our time is our most valuable currency in a, capitalist patriarchy, but that we're taught as women to give it away for free to everybody else other than ourselves, to the Parent-Teacher Association, to your civic communities, to your children, to your partner, and so when is that currency going to be spent on ourselves? But I will tell you, it is actually glorious to spend that currency on yourself. It is really, really, to me, what we all strive for in our society. If you say, I wish someone to be happy, I would actually say, I wish someone a creative life, because happiness is what follows.
And so much of it is about permission. You talk about 3 different kinds of permission in the book, Eve, which I loved, which was permission to burn shame and guilt. So that's just a decision. That's a decision to recognize that there's a toxic voice in my head that says I'm not allowed to do this, and you just go, thanks very much, voice. I'm not going to listen to that today, pretty much. But there's also the permission to use your voice to be able to say to someone, I'm going to allocate an hour to myself today. And that's where I fall over, Eve, because I let kind of a bunch of resentment build up. And then when I finally say it, it comes out in a very aggressive, quite angry way. And not surprisingly, we end up having a fight with whoever that I've said that to. So there are ways that we need to actually use our voice, Eve.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that. Even for me, as I was writing this book, and I'm an expert in communication, Jo, in difficult conversations, I still talk about how hard it was for me to tell my kids I was unavailable. But that's also because on average, people who were in caregiving roles during the pandemic were interrupted every 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
What?
According to one Time Journal survey. So when that's our reality, of course we're going to be like, I'm unavailable, right? You're going to throw things at people or hide in a bathroom or a closet. So that's our reality. But if we acknowledge in advance that that's our reality and say, we understand, and especially, if you're somebody who, again, is not used to using your voice, first comes self-talk. My time is diamonds. I deserve to spend that diamond currency on myself. 2 is using the voice to express it to others. And what I would say is that my number one piece of advice is when people say, well, I can't communicate to ask for what I need in this creative life, I like to say to them, well, you're already communicating. My friend said to me, I can't ask for this space, but then she tells me every time her partner forgets to put the laundry in the dryer and she has to do it, she dumps wet clothes on his pillow. So I like to say, I'm not asking for you to start communicating. I'm asking for a communication shift away from passive aggressive communication or boiling over or just escaping to actually thinking about what the shift would look like to ask for what you need in advance of what you need, to anticipate your needs and to vocalize them.
It feels like reading the book, you've got a whole lot of exercises all the way through of things that you can do to like kind of discover what it is that is your creative outlet. But again, it sort of feels like a revolution to actually take action to find the thing. Like it's such a weird, like I realise how much I just go, oh, well, I've got to do this way, and well, maybe there'll be time left. But you talk about making time for it and making it a priority. It just, yeah, I've realised inside I think I'm a 50s housewife, which is which is a shock to me. But like, how important is it to do the exercises in the book? Like, is it just about taking a direct step forward to start?
Well, yeah, I think what's interesting about the exercises in the book is it breaks down creativity into the 3 C's of values-based curiosity. Because I hate the word passion. That connotes it can only be one thing. I hate the word hobby because that was most associated in my research with infrequency. I really like the word curiosity, right? I'm curious what it would be like to be in a closed community with 12 strangers. And then you went off and you did it. Even with broad radio, what you're doing here, right? You're doing the first C, which is curiosity. What would it look like if we had a space, a physical, metaphorical, and literal space to talk about things that haven't been talked about traditionally? And then you connect with others, you have each other, you have your guests. And then the hardest part, especially for type A women, is that you complete something. The idea that this episode goes up, it goes out live. Maybe things will get messed up. Maybe somebody will curse. Maybe you won't like your questions, but it's still complete. And that's different than perfect. And I think the more that we realize completions can look differently, then we won't live, as my friend Amanda calls it, in a graveyard of unfulfilled dreams.
That sounds like a horror show.
I feel like you've just been filming my life, and you've just written this for me in terms of like actually completing stuff, and that done is better than perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. Like I feel very seen.
You're
to an uncomfortable.
Right now. And can I say too, Eve, that Cal is a mad crafter. Like what she can make with a glue gun, it's not worth having if she can't make it with a glue gun, right? So I would imagine you're an incredibly creative person and you do make space for it, but perhaps it's a slightly different.
Yeah, it's late at night. It's late at night when everyone else has gone to bed.
I also love the term curiosity, Eve, because as I build this particular startup, and I've never built a startup before, never imagined that I could, I've just been driven by the need to create a space for women who increasingly, as we age, feel less and less seen. Curiosity for me has become the antidote to anxiety and fear. It's become the way of answering that voice in my head. But what if this doesn't happen? Or what if this falls over? And what if we fail? And what if I lose all my money? Or whatever, right? And I go, hey, just that hasn't happened yet. Let's just be curious as to how it unfolds, because curiosity opens all manner of doors. It actually makes you open to anything happening.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't like on my 3rd grade board with Miss Hornstein, Jo, that had said, What I want to be when I grow up is a gendered division of labor expert. It probably said veterinarian or something like astronaut. I don't know, but it's the same thing. I don't know if you would have imagined that, hosting a startup to create literally, again, a metaphorical and physical space for women who've been erased was on your third grade board either. But that's the beauty of curiosity. Because when you say, well, what if I do this? What pushback will I get? What clues will it tell me? And you just repeat the cycle between curiosity plus connection plus completion. And the reason why the connection and the completion are so important is because this is different than self-care. As much as I would love for you to take a run or do a spin class, that one-on-one pursuit is not the same as sort of the fear and the rigor it takes to create a unicorn space, which is, as we said, connecting with others, sharing your intent with the world, and actually completing something. Whether it's my friend who said she just completed a ukulele concert for her friends and family, or whether it's the man in Texas who told me on a radio show that he completed his first bull ride.
Bull ride?
Wow.
Bull riding. Who knew?
Who knew? I have got one question, though, around the share part of it. Why is it important to share it? Because I love singing. Why can't I just sing into my wardrobe for no one to know? Why do I have to share that with the world?
Well, there's a few reasons. First, I'll talk to you as if you're a leader, which we all are, whether we're a work colleague or, we're a leader for our communities or our children. Sharing makes you empathetic. It makes you more vulnerable. One of my interviewees said that she was having a really hard time with her boss until she saw a vintage Singer sewing machine behind her. And she started asking her about it. And then they were checking in about the doll clothes that her boss was sewing for her granddaughter. And they started to create a new connection around vulnerability, about us being full human beings. And that type of vulnerability, Jo, I know that if you sang on this show, or to me at least, I know that now knowing that, Cal, you're a crafter, don't you sing, these things make us more human. And in a time where really, literally, we are being divided by a deadly disease, by politics, by climate change, you really can't underestimate authentic connections that bring you close to somebody or closer to somebody that you wouldn't have known had something to share.
Well, I really, really love what you've written in this book. And just quickly before we go, I know it's a massive topic of conversation, but part of the thing that you talk about is time, and your New York best-selling book, your New York Times best-selling book, Eve, is Fair Play, which was all about that division of labour at home. And you bring in that book a really, basic, well, not basic, but really easy to follow system whereby you might be able to address what's happening in your home, which I love because I think gender equality is never going to happen in the workplace and boardrooms until we have it in our homes. So can you tell us a little bit about Fair Play?
Absolutely. It's not rocket science. As you said, it actually is basic. And it's based on a premise that really the systems that you employ in your home, treating your home as your most important organization, will be the most important thing if you want to invest in your long-term life, especially as a woman. And I remember talking to one man about fair play, and he said, fair play is the opposite of my home, where we wait to decide who's taking the dog out right when it's about to take a piss on the rug. And I said, exactly. Whatever you're doing in your home, fair play is the opposite. I want you to do the opposite. The beauty of systems is the idea that you can make decisions before you have to make decisions. And what that does is it frees up so much more space, which we're talking about today, space in your life to ideate, to tinker, to dream, when you're not always dying in decision fatigue. And it sounds like, obvious, but it hasn't been obvious to many of us that the three most toxic words we could ever have in a relationship are figure it out.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like, Eve, next time we speak, we will, like, Jo will sing the questions to you. Like,
Yes.
we need to take action.
It's true. I'll share that with the world, and I'm going home to share Fair Play with my husband as well, because the endless conversation about who's juggling what and who's more tired. Oh, do you have that conversation? I'm more tired. I've worked harder today. It's just not healthy. Eve Rodsky, it's been absolutely joyous to speak with you. Thank you for sharing all of your systems and really practical ways that we can hopefully reconnect with our creative spaces and find a little bit more fulfillment, if not this year, but maybe just this week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eve. You take care, and we'll have more Broad Radio after this.
My workout routine comes with me wherever I go, and so does Bondi Protein. It gives me the post-workout nutrients I need. Fuel your body with Australian-made Bondi Protein.
Broad Radio. Talking inspo we love, info we need, and sharing more of us. Watch and listen live every Tuesday 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time at broadradio.com.au, or find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and LinkedIn at Broad Radio Oz. Talk to us live. Call on 1300 8 Broad. Catch up on demand anytime, anywhere, every time, everywhere. On the train, we'll be here. 2 a.m. existential crisis? We've got you covered. Broad Radio. Here for more.
Now, Cal, we had intended this day, our first day back, to be a birthday party for Betty White, because it would have been her 100th birthday yesterday. And unfortunately, the world had to say goodbye to her just after Christmas. It was a huge loss at 99.
Huge. And it feels like another sign of the apocalypse. Because,
I know.
because Betty White was going to be around forever because she was so magnificent. But yeah, it was so sad. What is always lovely when someone beloved like this dies is when you get on Twitter and everyone posts clips of them at their best. And there were just so many clips of her being hilarious on the Golden Girls or Mary Tyler Moore show. But it does feel like a loss.
Yes. And when you start diving into someone like Betty's career, who I was first introduced to her on Golden Girls. For others, it was Mary Tyler Moore. But for, those seniors amongst us, they're like, oh, I remember when she had her own show in the 50s. She got an Emmy, and she was one of those, like Lucille Ball, she was one of the first women to produce her own work. Incredible, right? Love, everything. And what a natural comic.
So funny. The best clips, or the clips that I enjoyed the most, were watching her improvise on Golden Girls and having the other actors just uncontrollably laugh.
Yes, just joyous. But this, I sort of dived into a little bit of trivia about Betty, and this is my favourite thing that I learned about her. Her love of her life was actually her third marriage, and the first two marriages lasted a very short amount of time because both of those men expected her to give up her career. And she was like, oh, no. Entertaining is what I do. And she said of her second husband, he didn't want me to be in show business, and when you have a calling, you have to follow it. So I made the choice, blew the marriage, and I've never regretted it.
Amazing. And then met the love of her life, who was in show business as well.
I know.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Something blew my mind the other day, though, about Betty White, and it was on TikTok, so who knows if it's true.
Oh, come on, TikTok.
But
it's gospel.
The Golden Girls, the women playing the Golden Girls were the same age as the women in Sex and the City now.
What? No.
Yeah, so they're all in their 50s. So she was like 54 or something when they started Golden Girls. How much further apart could you feel in lifestyle than those sets of women?
Cal, I turned 50 this year.
I'm 51, Jo.
So how are they 54?
Wigs. I think it's wigs. It was just wigs.
Oh, my God. That has really blown my mind enormously.
Again, TikTok, who knows?
Who
knows?
I do believe it. I did also hear that the woman who played the mother in Golden Girls was the youngest of them all.
Yeah, it was something like 4 years difference between her and her screen daughter.
She was 12, actually. A lot of really good makeup. Anyway, so R.I.P. Betty White, Varley, or whatever you say. We just, the world was so much better because of her, and it was just a joy to I don't know, be taught as a comedian, you know. I say the same about Lucille Ball, just to learn the craft from those sorts of
Absolutely. And
geniuses.
also that they were mentors and welcoming to other women in the industry as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be talking sport in just a moment. Alrighty, so we are waiting for Kate O'Halloran to join us from she's ABC Journo, and she's the expert here, right? Okay, so it's going to be a great conversation until she joins us. But a couple of things I was going to mention, which is awesome. The netball diamonds, the Australian Diamonds are over in the UK at the moment, and they're playing actually in the final against the UK Thursday morning our time. But one of the things I've absolutely loved about watching the netball is that there are babies on tour.
And actually babies that belong to the players, not just
like
bought babies.
Babies that actually belongs to the player. There's look, do you know what? I don't even have the note. Oh, here she is. She's extraordinary. I'm not a netball expert, but Gretel Buetta a year ago gave birth to a little boy, and she's taken him on tour with her. Is it not amazing that she's playing for Australia? And
totally. Like, I am not ready to do that, and my son is 12. Like, just doing that a year after giving birth. Oh, now, also, can I just ask you, did you bring up the netball because Australia had smashed New Zealand? Is that why we're talking about this now?
Australia did smash New Zealand and smashed South Africa as well, but obviously rivals. Are you a netball? Did you ever play netball?
I played netball at primary school, and I was goal defence, and the teacher tied me to the pole with my jumper because I kept coming out of my little semicircle. So you're not supposed to be there.
You cannot be in it. I also played netball because all girls did play netball in the 80s, didn't they? Because it was the only sport that was available to us pretty much. And I didn't play sport. I was a creative girl, you know, read my book and went to piano lessons. But when I was forced to play netball, they always made me wing defence, which is what they give the worst player.
Yeah.
And I did once actually ask Bianca Chatfield that, who played for Australia, and she said, yeah, no, wing defence is a really important role. And I'm like, yeah, but be honest, in the amateur world, is that what you give the worst players? And she wouldn't admit it, but I could tell she was thinking it. I could tell she was like, yeah, well, yeah.
It's the equivalent of you've got a lovely personality, isn't it?
It really is. It absolutely is. We've had no luck with Kate O'Halloran, and so we're chasing her down. But in the meantime, the other thing is that the Ashes is starting. Women's Ashes is starting.
Are they called the Washes? Do we call them the Washes if it's the women's Ashes?
I'd love it if they called it the Washes. Washes with lashes of bashes.
And
oh my
crashes.
God! And crashes. We're going home. That's it. It's an early lunch. So that's starting Thursday. So check that out. And we wish our ladies well there in the cricket. And it was so awesome to see Ash Barty win last night. So we are absolutely smashing it for sport this week. But we wanted to talk AFLW, and we really wanted to do it with Kate O'Halloran, who is our sports journo and expert. So in the meantime, I reckon we're going to go to another break and try and get her on the line. Do you reckon, Ro? Yes?
She's too busy sorting it out, Jo.
I know. I don't know. There's a tech issue with Kate, and we are working on it. So in the meantime, I'm going to ask you a different question. We'll change the subject altogether.
You can interview me about women's AFL, but it's probably not a good idea.
No, that's okay. Did you take up an AFL sport when you came here an AFL team when you came here?
I did. I did a show about it at the Comedy Festival. I chose St Kilda.
I knew that already. Did we share a venue?
Maybe.
I'm having a flashback.
Oh, yes, probably.
Which is different to a hot flush.
Oh.
But often they coincide. Oh, we've got Kate. Yay. Oh, my gosh. Kate O'Halloran, courtesy of the ABC and Brilliant Sports Journal. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks, I'm finally here.
You are finally here. I won't ask you where you were. Were you stuck in your wardrobe behind you there?
I wish that'd make for a better story rather than stuck in cyberspace somewhere.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst place to be stuck. I am someone who has never got my head around technology, and I hate the fact that it's so cliche that a woman who's in her early 50s, 50 this year, has to go to the IT desk in their house, which is my husband, to fix it.
Yes, I've got one of those. I feel like I'm letting the side down again.
It's so boring. Oh, Kate, are you there?
Yes, sorry, just realised I have my fan on, which doesn't really work very well for live radio.
What I'm hoping for, Kate, is do you have a dog or cat that could walk across the screen? Because it doesn't matter how interesting you are or how fascinating you are, the best thing to ever happen is when a pet joins the call. Like,
I know, that would be the holy trilogy of failures this morning, but no, I don't have one, so sorry.
It's okay, and you're with us now, so I can relax, as I did have a hot flush, I think, during that time there. It's the first show back, Kate. What are you doing to me, asking me to ad-lib without... I've forgotten actually how to use my mouth for anything other than drink wine. So we wanted to talk AFLW, which I absolutely love, although I know very little about. You are the expert as the sports journo here. I know that one of the biggest talking points in AFLW since we began, it's only round 2, is the number of ACL injuries that we've had. In that first round, there were 3.
I know. Yeah, it was a shocking round, really, from an injury perspective. So we had, 3 ACLs to 3 of the top players in the league, really, and that's no exaggeration because it was last year's best and fairest, Bree Davey, who shared the best and fairest with Kiara Bowers. We had Izzy Huntington, former rising star and the Bulldogs' #1 draft pick, and also Kate Lutkins, who was best on ground in the grand final last year against Adelaide. So, ACLs are obviously tragic for any player, but really to see that quality of competitor go down in the first round is really an enormous blow to the competition.
And there was talk, though, and there has been a lot of talk. Why does it happen so often for the women? Is it something to do with the fact that they can't train, the kind of hours that the men are able to because they're juggling careers as well? Is it because they're playing in summer? Is it like there are so many theories around it? Are there any theories we can trust?
Well, as per usual, you'd probably be unsurprised to learn that there's very little research done on women and ACLs in sport. I think I saw a stat the other day about exercise science research. I think it's 3% that's done on women specifically.
Wow.
So a lot of the data that we have, I mean, it's shocking really. I shouldn't laugh, but what else can you do really? A lot of the data that we have is about men and injuries in sport. I think I heard Kate Crossley talk on ABC Radio Adelaide the other day. She's actually been involved in some research with the AFL at La Trobe. And she said if you look at sports where men and women are playing the same sport, women are still about twice as likely to do their ACL. But in AFLW, in the first couple of seasons, it was something like nine times more likely.
Wow.
And a lot of that, she spoke about exactly what you just mentioned, the fact that they are juggling commitments outside of football, like work, coming to training at 5 p.m. after a full day. I mean, they are playing in the hottest part of the year, very hard grounds. This season in particular was brought right forward to the start of January, so a lot of them had very interrupted holiday periods over Christmas and New Year and have been asked to come out. Some didn't even get a practice match before the first round, depending on what state they were in because of the COVID situation and border restrictions. So it's really not your ideal preparation for a season, and I think we can't underplay the impact that has on the players, but also on their livelihoods after they do injure themselves.
And so doing your ACL, that's a season-ending injury, isn't it?
Yeah.
How is that affecting players' contracts? Because I know they have shorter contracts. Like if you do your ACL, is your club still going to pick you up for the next season? Like how's it going to work?
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the most difficult things as well on that same note. They're contracted for only 6 months and an ACL is a 12-month injury and the season is only 3 months. So we're asking these players to rehabilitate year-round on a 6-month contract. So, Ash Brazel has spoken last year with the ABC about the fact that once she was in off season, she felt that, you're hearing a lot less from your coaches, from your medical team, from your teammates, and it's a very lonely injury to rehabilitate from. And we can't ignore the implications, I guess, from a financial and overall health and well-being point of view. These players having to go back to their careers, and having such a serious injury that they need to take care of. Erin Phillips actually spoke on Sam Lane and Shani Norda's podcast the other day as well, and just emphasised that at the Adelaide Crows, and this is not uncommon, they have one physio for 31 players. So, those staff members are doing their very best to help these women with their injuries, but outside of season, that's something that falls on the individual, and that really isn't a fair situation, I think, that we're putting these players in.
Part of the conversation I don't like around the injuries that women experience, though, are the people that say, oh, but they just don't know how to play properly yet, and hence when they go in really hard, they injure themselves because they haven't had the years of experience that the men have had. And I always kind of go, they're professional athletes. Like, they know what they're doing.
I know, it's just part of that, sexist discourse that women are more likely to injure themselves, that there's something wrong with our bodies, or, the way that we've prepared, or that we're not as familiar with the game, and that's why we're doing these injuries. And I think it's blatantly untrue. There's also been, on a slightly serious note, a lot of work that the AFL have put into the women's competition has been with the pathways that feed into AFLW, is running these prep to play programs where, you do get taught how to land in a marking contest, how to change direction as safely as possible. So this education is all being filtered through. I truly believe that the issue is the conditions that they're currently playing under not being fully professional.
My gosh, I can't even believe they play in this heat. I mean, I like to go for a little 5K jog here and there, and my temperature level, my limit is 25 degrees. Anything over, I can't do it. And those women are playing full footy in 30-degree heat for 2 hours. Oh, my God. No, thank you.
It's funny because you talk to some of them and they're like, I actually really like the heat and I have no issue with playing in summer. And I just think, well, I don't know if I can take this as gospel for the rest of the playing cohort, because I know I would not be keen at all.
No. So this weekend is the Pride Round.
Yep, very exciting. So it's the second year in a row that we've had a full Pride Round. So there has been a Pride match right from the inauguration of the competition, but this will be the second season where we've got a full Pride Round. Very exciting. And there's a couple of players that have recently come out as non-binary. Tori Groves-Little from Gold Coast Suns and Darcy Vesio, who was the competition's leading goal scorer last season. Both Tori on Instagram made an announcement about their gender identity, and then Darcy Vesio spoke in a very emotional video actually on the AFL Women's website about their journey coming out as non-binary. So, it's a really interesting round, just in light of that, because there has been controversy, I guess, over the first few seasons in particular about inclusion of trans women in the competition. Hannah Mountsie was famously denied the opportunity to participate. So the AFL does have a gender diversity policy that restricts people who are on testosterone, for example, from participating, but non-binary is a bit of a grey area at the moment. If the players aren't on testosterone, for example, then they are free to participate. So, it's just sort of an interesting conversation going forward, I think, for the AFL to figure out.
But I think that the AFLW, as always, just sets the mark as far as inclusivity and diversity, and it's one of the reasons why we love it and why it's such a different game to the men's game. I love the men's game too, but just this complete acceptance and love and putting arms around all different kinds of people is one of the reasons we love about this sport.
Yeah, it's amazing, actually. I was thinking that just watching Darcy's video on the AFL women's website, just thinking, wow, like how groundbreaking is this? You know, if you think about, you know, there was an article just yesterday about Joel Selwood saying, oh, you know, a gay player would be welcome in men's AFL. I mean, how many years have we been hearing that for? And we've still never had anyone come out. And here's AFLW in its 6th season. We've got a couple of non-binary players now speaking openly about their gender identity and, you know, full pride round. I just think it's leaps and bounds ahead of the AFL men's competition. And I do think it's making a mark socially in that way. And I think, yeah, the players can all be really proud of the role they've played and the bravery they've shown in being really open about their sexuality and gender diversity.
Absolutely. Well, Kate O'Halloran, it's been lovely to have you on the show. I'm so glad that you finally pushed your way through the internet and got yourself onto the screen.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened, but I'm very glad that we eventually got to have this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, we'll speak to you again soon. It's always a joy to have you on Broad Radio. Thanks, love.
Yeah, vice versa.
Okay, you take care, and we'll have the end of Broad Radio after this. It's the end of Broad Radio. Why did I say that?
You did make it sound quite final, isn't it? It's our first day back and it's our last broadcast ever.
I wouldn't say that I'm rusty, but that did get a little hairy there. Have you found yourself ever having to cover on like live TV, live radio, anything kind of fall over in that way?
Yes, way back when smartphones weren't a thing, Telstra used to do this thing. If you had a phone with a screen, you could watch Australian Idol during the ad breaks you could watch the show on your phone, and in the ad breaks, instead of getting the ads, I was there interviewing people about Australian Idol.
That's a cool gig.
Yeah, it was really great. And so, you know, like just chatting to the contestants and stuff, and occasionally there'd be like a celebrity visiting. I think it was Kelly Clarkson. I was interviewing her and I mistook the director's hand signal because he kind of did sort of waved his arms around, and that usually means wrap it up. Yeah. And he'd made that gesture, so I wrapped up, and then Kelly and I stood there for a couple of minutes going, "Hey, that was a good interview." And then he was like, "You're still live."
You weren't bagging Novak Djokovic at the time. Oh my gosh, that was, if the mics are on. You don't know. Well, anyway, here we are. We are not ending Broad Radio for good, just this particular show. Before we leave you, I did want to mention that the draft National Plan to End Violence Against Women and Children, an absolutely critical document from the federal government, is actually up for community engagement and consultation. The period is only 2 weeks. I don't know why they've only left 2 weeks for that particular thing to happen. It's a 75-page document, so there is a lot of feedback that could be made. If you are interested, that's the website, but it is insanely long. It can't even fit it on the screen. So we're going to put that on our social media today so that you can head along and give your feedback to that really, really important policy and plan moving forward to end violence against women and children. Please do so, and we will share that on our socials. It's been really lovely to be back. Thank you to those who joined us on comments today. We have had, I don't even know, I want to find out. I'm going to actually message. Do you reckon you pronounce that Essie or Etche? S? I don't know. Anyway, she has said go and Google Betty White today and see what happens on your screen. What's that mean?
I reckon she's got a little Google, she's got her own little doodle on Google.
Oh, I love that. And also I'm going to message you to find out how to pronounce your name, dear friend who has shared that comment. And Pip says, great to have you back. It's great to be back. Thank you so much. It's been awesome to have you on this first day.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How was it being it's like your first day on a job here? Was it awkward?
Kind of. Well, it wasn't.
Were we nice and friendly?
Well, yes, you were very welcoming. You got me a hot drink. You gave me your AirPods because I brought the wrong ones. I feel like it was a great day at work or we're in a relationship now.
Yes. Well, it remains to be seen. I remember once my very first day of work on a job, right? I was nervous, as I always am. I'm very introverted, right? And I find it really difficult to be the first time anywhere with people you don't know. And I remember I thought I'd be really cool and walk into the office and say, "Oh my God, there's cake in the kitchen." And everyone except one girl went, and the one girl who went, "Oh, what?" She said, "Oh, it's my birthday." And I totally blew the surprise birthday cake. I have never recovered from that. I wake up in a cold sweat sometimes remembering that.
I did when I went in to have an interview with my management company to get management and sort of pitch myself towards them. So it's the first time I'd been in the office and the meeting went very well. And so we agreed that they would take me on. And as I walked out, I thought I was pressing the button to open the door, but I just turned off all the lights.
See you later, everybody. I'm out. I love it. Cal, it's been awesome to have you, and I hope we get you back very soon.
That'll be great.
Yeah, all righty. And we'll be back with Broad Radio next Tuesday. We'll see you then.